Meanwhile, there are reports of Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin this week to discuss the war in Syria. Top on the agenda of their discussions is said to be Israel's concerns over what they see as the growing influence of Iran in Syria. But Netanyahu would certainly have many other topics on his plate when he meets Putin.
Because Russia is Syria's key ally in this conflict, it's natural that the Israelis will be asking, the Kremlin will be asking Mr. Putin, what sort of influence will Iran and Hezbollah have in Syria once this conflict is over?
Apart from Iran, he's also expected to raise the case of the Kurds, who have lately become serious players in the ongoing war in Syria. The Kurds, who are internationally known to aspire for an independent state, are supported by the United States. Many now want to know if Israel too wants to support the Kurds in their push for creating an independent state in Syria, with Russia's support. A look at the recent diplomatic moves around Syria shows that the country could soon see a new phase in its multiple-year war with the terrorists. That could be the outcome of the current negotiations between the many parties that are involved in the conflict. But Syria is a complex web in which many players are involved. They include the groups that are supported by Saudi Arabia and its allies. Surprisingly, they are less spoken about it in the current media coverage of the diplomatic talks about Syria.
We always have to remember that ISIS, Free Syrian Army, al-Nusra, and the other terrorist groups fighting against the Syrian government, fighting against the Syrian army, all have one major thing in common. They are all Islamist, Wahhabist terrorist groups. The only difference is that ISIS is the more powerful of them all. But once ISIS is defeated, which is going to happen, I believe, relatively soon, then it's up to Washington, it's up to London, and it's up to their regional allies in the region, Turkey, Saudi Arabia and Qatar, to see just how far will they go in keeping their support going to the Free Syrian Army and al-Nusra.
Supposing that the war in Syria is heading to an end, new questions are already emerging about the new dynamics of domestic politics in the country. In what direction those dynamics would change and what would be the role of the existing and the new players will be known only when new clues come out of the future diplomatic discussions around Syria.